We all know what this is. It's a £20 note, and this is what £361 million looks like in £20 notes. And if you believe the headlines, that's what we're handing over to the EU every week. Or is it? Well, the short answer is no. The UK doesn't hand over this much money to the EU. Let me explain. In 1984, Margaret Thatcher negotiated the rebate, an instant discount taken from the money the UK pays before it's sent. In 2014, the rebate was worth £85 million a week, leaving £276 million being sent to the EU. But that's not the full story, because the money flows in both directions. Every week, the UK Treasury gets £88 million from the EU, and it's divided up into 5 main areas. £50 million of that is spent on farming and fisheries. Most of it goes direct to farmers to keep them in business. Another £11 million goes to rural development to help them improve and maintain life in the countryside. Every week, £20 million is spent on developing less prosperous parts of the country. It's spent on things like transport infrastructure and helping businesses to grow. £5 million goes to social development, tackling things like poverty and unemployment, and the money goes to education and training. And that last piece, £2 million, goes to other EU projects here in the UK. We're talking about things like medical research or low carbon energy funds. So if we subtract what the UK Treasury gets back, we end up with a weekly contribution of £188 million. But the UK private sector also gets money from the EU in 3 main areas: in scientific research, in university funding, and in engineering projects. Add that up and it's £27 million a week. That means when you take away the rebate, the EU money is sent to the Treasury and the private sector funding, £161 million a week is going to the EU. So, how does that stack up? Well, every week the UK spends £821 million on defence. It spends £1.4 billion on education. On the NHS, £2.6 billion. And on top of that, it spends £3.6 billion on pensions. So the price of EU membership, £161 million a week. Is it worth it? Well, the voters will decide.